All right, so update, sales track training starting point review. This is just kind of what we went over last week, and I just want to remind people, sales track is a detailed and systematic approach to the sale of products, goods, and services. Sales track is exactly what the name implies, a track to run on to ensure the best possible outcome to your sales process. Now, if you've ever been in a sales environment, most companies have a sales track. Most companies have a script. They have a certain path that they want you to follow, a certain language they want you to understand, a certain rhythm to what they do. Mortgage industry, you have an absolute set process of what you go through to get somebody qualified. Insurance, most of them have scripts and flip books and things of this nature. We're no different than that. We have developed so much material to try to assist you in ensuring the best possible success. But none of this happens unless you take action. None of it happens unless you put it into play. None of this happens unless you do what Joan said, and that is start the conversations that matter. Start the meaningful conversations. If you've been in a shell or you have difficulty speaking to individuals, this is the time to break that mold. One thing that I do find out is that when we stay in our comfort zone, we tend to stay at a status quo. When we get out of our comfort zone and start doing things that are uncomfortable for us is, in my opinion, when we tend to begin to see some degree of greatness in what we do. And it's also, it challenges us. And so this is where we grow as well, by getting out and having those difficult conversations, those meaningful conversations, getting out of your comfort zone, doing something that doesn't feel like your normal rhythm. Go to a store with the intent of meeting someone. And I know that sounds maybe outside the box for a lot of people, but people that have been in this industry for a long time, they recruit intentionally. They go to different locations. We're going to talk to about some of these locations to give you some ideas. But the whole idea behind Sales Track is so you're following a systematic approach that moves the process forward. If you have a great conversation with somebody and it doesn't go anywhere, then that's all it was a great conversation. You should be moving your conversations forward to get you to a place where you can now expose the individual to the product, to videos, run an analysis, and get them in place. Sales Track has 6 basic lessons that we go through. There's actually 22 lessons that we're going to go through over the next 22 to 26 weeks. But the first 6 are the ones that I really want you to concentrate on. And those first 6 lessons, as Joan was saying, this is about 10 to maybe 20 minutes of conversation, but we're going to break it down into detail for you because we want you to understand each aspect and that each piece of this conversation actually can be labeled, it can be defined, and there's certain information, certain things you want to ask, and certain approaches that you want to take that will move the process forward and help you determine not their eligibility, but their desire. And that is what we're really looking for, is their desire to get out of debt, their desire to stop doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, the definition of insanity, their desire to build a business, their desire to have an ancillary product, their desire to have another product alongside the product they're already selling, their desire to accumulate wealth, to spread the message, to be a part of the mission to buy America back one family at a time. So the first in this is starting point, with whom do I start? Second is your 15-second commercial, and we'll get into that in the weeks to come. Third is the use of qualifiers and tie-down questions. I think anybody on this call that's ever sold the product would say that this right here, the use of qualifiers and tie-downs, is one of the most important aspects of your conversational language with the client. This helps lead and direct, and especially the questioning side of this brings individuals to really open up and give you the information that you need to really address their needs and tailor your presentation, your information towards what they are looking for, what we would call their value proposition. Your personal and or borrowed story is lesson number 4. Lesson number 5 is the litmus test. And number 6 is setting that first appointment with that individual. Now remember, this is about 10 to 15 minutes of conversation. That's all it is. It could be 20 minutes. I mean, you could have a 30-minute conversation with somebody through these 6 lessons. If they're very talkative, you're getting along really good. But I want you to understand that we're going to go through detail over the next, 10 weeks or so, because we're going to interject some other things other than sales track into the middle of the trainings. But I just want you to focus on these first 6 lessons and really try to put them into play. So last week we talked about who do we start with? Well, we suggest you start with people you know, the individual homeowner, the ones that really need it, that are looking for relief, knee-to-knee, one-on-one. Get into your database, write your list out, and don't make the decision on who should hear the information and who should not. Then move on from there with people you don't already know. All right, so that was our review from last week. So this week, what we're going to talk about in starting point is step 1, with whom do I start? Well, we say start with BTTB, back to the basics, the back to the basics list. And that begins with you getting in your cell phone. That begins with you getting in your computer and your contact list. That begins, I don't know if any of you still have Rolodexes that you haven't transferred over. That may be getting into the stack of business cards that you've collected from different people and meetings. Anybody you have a business card on, they gave you that card because they want you to do business with them. Why would you not call that card to ask them if they would want to do business with you? And I'm not saying that you say it that cut and dry, but there's many different ways of doing that. You should brainstorm, and in doing this, you should spend 1 to 2 hours brainstorming on everyone you know. Do not judge. Just write down every name that comes to mind. We went over this, your database, your book of business, your sphere of influence. Why do we utilize the term of sphere of influence? Well, you want to speak the same language as the people that you are approaching, and people that you already know your language style. They know who you are. I tell people initially stay in whatever profession you're in right now. Get in touch with people that are in the same profession. If you're a teacher, if you're a nurse, if if you're in mortgage, talk to people that are in your station until you learn your language and learn the process and understand what you're doing. Your cell phone, social media. Once you've done that, categorized into client prospect, agent prospect, or both, rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 not so hot, 10 very hot. Call on your top 10 prospects. People you know, this is the start of your database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Darlene real quick and just see if Darlene has any comments. And Darlene and Joan, I'm going to be bopping back and forth to you all for comments on probably every second or third slide. So let's make the commentary as brief as we can so we can get through the rest of the lesson this evening. So Darlene, any comments about what you see on the screen right now?
No, you covered it very well. We've gone over this a bit, but for the new people, I'm always going to say the same thing as Joan did. That database of those contacts, your prospects, that is the meat of your business. So you need to keep it together and never throw away those names that may not respond to you right now. Keep that list going, keep moving forward, and keep that action heading towards what you want to achieve. Talk to your people. See who you need to talk to, maybe a little spread out. So if their interest is 1 or 2 or 3, not right now type thing, those aren't the ones you want to focus on. You want to focus on the ones that are hotter, closer to that 10. So, but awesome. That was covering it very well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Dr. Joan, I'm going to come to you on the next slide that we do so that we're just moving through this fairly rapidly. I know this is some review, but I thought it was very important that we reviewed this piece of it as well for everybody there in the field. Create your name list. Remember, back to the basics, list is imperative. Most commonly skipped step, yet one of the most important steps. Helps make you bulletproof. If you hear no or prospects are not ready to move forward, you're not sitting around with nothing to do. You have a list of people who need this program, need what you have to offer. Move through your list. It decreases commission breadth because you're calling on a list of people and you are just sharing this information, gives you your next step of what you need to do once you hear a no or you hear a yes. Either way, you have a next step to move on to. Your database is the most important thing for your business. Your phone is a close second to that database. So I'm going to go over to Dr. Joan here real quick. And Dr. Joan, any comments?
Yes. First of all, as this says, definitely that list is the absolute most imperative thing that you can possibly do, and it truly is one of the most commonly skipped step that one can do. I would also say that you don't do this one time. So do not just sit down and do it today and think, oh, I'm done, I never have to do that list again. My suggestion is to do this list once a quarter minimum. I try to do it about once a month. Whenever I feel like there's a lull in my business, I do this. Think about all the people that you've met over the past month. You don't want anybody to fall through the cracks. So the more often you can do this, the more you will ensure nobody falls through the cracks, like the people that you just met over the course of the last month. So do this activity at least once a quarter, if not once a month.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Joan. Great advice for everybody on the call. I want you all to understand something that we keep saying, don't decide who should hear this and who should not. And what I mean by that is all too often we get involved in things and we're afraid to share it with the people that we're the closest to. But that to me means you haven't completely sold out to the product. That to me means that there's some reservation in the back of your mind as to whether or not this product is truly going to do the job that we say it's going to do. If you follow sales track, if you qualify your client on their desire and their ability to utilize the product and define, will you actually use this product, I will promise you this, you can deliver this product to your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister with absolute complete confidence that the product will do what we say if, number one, they set it up, and number two, they use it. I need you all to understand something. There is no trick here. There is no we're defeating the bank some way or we're doing some weird thing that could come back. This is nothing more than mathematics built into a system that cannot fail. And I want to say that again. It is nothing more than mathematics. It's not magic. It's just math. So prospecting. Where do we go to prospect? What does prospecting look like? What is prospecting actually? Well, if we talk about prospecting back in the days of the 1800s, it was prospecting for gold. It was prospecting for silver. So what does prospecting really mean? It's that you're on a search. You're on a hunt. Now I want you to think about this. Think about all the people that prospected for silver and gold. Now I want you to think that there was a gold rush, and there was hundreds, thousands of people that went out west in the search of gold and silver. And they went out with these ideas of grandeur and greatness and becoming wealthy. But if you go and do research on history, only about 2% of the people that went out prospecting for gold and silver ever found gold and silver. And why was that? Because so many of them gave up. You know, one of the stories I love was there's a story regarding a gentleman that worked in a mine, had his own mine, and this was during the California gold rush. And he had been working this mine for 5 years and just kept finding dust, little teeny nuggets, nothing to really make his fortune. So he abandoned the mine, sold the deed off to another individual, and in selling that deed off, you know, he becomes a no-name in history other than this particular incident. And the gentleman that bought in another gentleman, and the gentleman decided to dig 4 feet to the right of his tunnel that this gentleman had been digging, that he had been digging for 5 years in shafts. He just decided to go 5 feet to the right of the tunnel. And he hit one of the largest gold veins in recorded history. And all it took, if that miner was not so set on just going straight forward, all it took was a slight deviation. So why am I bringing that up? Well, one, he quit just before he had success. Two, he was not open to the idea of deviating his path. He had set in his mind what would work for him, and he wasn't listening to anybody else. Well, I'm telling you this because that's a lot like our business. You have to be malleable. You have to be able to have organic conversations. You have to be able to kind of ebb and flow. And if your leader is telling you to do something, if the person that recruited you is advising you to do something, dare I say, if corporate is advising you that this is the best track to run on, then I think I would try that track. I hear all too often from professional salespeople that come into this, oh, I know how to sell. Oh, I've done this time and time again. Oh, I don't need to get on the calls and listen to sales track. I've had so much sales training, it's ridiculous. And you know what? Those people go by the wayside. I have seen some of the best salesmen in my life that could not alter what they do enough to learn something new and be defeated in this business. But I'll tell you something else. I have seen people like an elderly woman I knew in Virginia, Betty Cotton, never sold anything in her life, knew everybody in the town. And I think we mentioned this last week, that Betty Cotton didn't know how to sell. She followed sales track. She introduced the product and let people make the decision. She introduced it to everybody she knew, and she was highly successful in the business, never sold anything in her life. So do you need a sales background to make this business work? I would say no. Having a sales background can assist you if you are still teachable. Having the basics of a sales background, how to do follow-up, how to do a tracking list, how to do things of that nature, very important. But those are all things that you can learn. You know what the number one most important thing here is? Get out and talk to people and use the tools that you have in place. So where do we find people? HOA meetings, approach HOA organizations or communities to find out, how many people own in their particular community there. What is the ratio of ownership to rental? Do you have permission to present at their next HOA meeting something that could help their people pay off their condos? The HOA has no vested interest to keeping people in debt. They will always have to pay the HOA. In fact, if they pay off their condo, their home, whatever it is, they're probably going to stay where they are. HOAs, individual HOAs and or actual property management groups that manage HOAs, new home construction builders. Now this is recorded, so this will be something you can go back to, and what I'm really trying to give you is a memory jogger here. Just some ideas of some things maybe you haven't thought about yet, where you could find context, where you could find individuals to talk to, because at the end of the day, what we have to do is refine your language and your approach. We have to refine how you go about finding individuals not only to purchase the product, but join the company as well. And so we're just trying to give you some ideas here. Realtor.com, banners and advertising on Realtor.com. Look up Realtor.com, see what it costs to get a banner or some advertising up there. If you see somebody has a home up for sale, I think this is brilliant. Call Realtor Signs. Call the real estate agents and ask them, say, hey, I know this guy's selling. How many homes do you usually sell a month? I offer a product that helps people pay off their debt in 1/3 to 1/2 the time, or whatever that is. That may not be the best opening. It may be even, what are you looking to do with your business? How would you like to expand your business? What if I could offer you a product? What is most important to you? Why did you become a realtor? These are all questions that will get that individual opening up and talking to you. Open houses. Go into open houses. Talk to the realtors there directly. People that are selling homes many times are moving into another home if it's not a foreclosure. Don't have any embarrassment about talking to the owner of the home. Finding out, where are they moving? What are they doing? What is their intention? Are they in the, position that they want to pay off their home? It does blow me away a little bit, but do realize that there are certain people that do not ever want to pay off their home. And trying to change their mind about that is fairly difficult. I've seen a couple come around, but they, my home is just a tax write-off, and I just look at it as an expense. I don't intend to ever pay this house off. Well, you take a 30-year mortgage where they're making the minimum payment, and that's just an expense to them, and you show them, look, we could have it all paid off in 9 years, and you wouldn't have to make the mortgage payment. All your money would now be freed up to invest or do whatever you want to do. In an open house, you have a captive audience. That is integral. Stop by real estate and loan offices. Go to the banks. Ask if they have a loan officer. Office and speak with the broker. Speak with the loan officer. Speak with the owner. Attend networking events. This is something that I think everybody should be doing because everybody's passing around business cards. You actually have opportunities in many networking events to present your product if you've been going there long enough. Chamber events, BNI groups, mixers, all of these things is where you're going to meet people. Have a 30-second commercial ready. Or a 15-second commercial is what I call it. If you haven't got my attention in 15 seconds, I'm really not listening to you much further. But the industry has always called it a 30-second commercial. I've shortened that down to a 15-second commercial. Be consistent at the networking events so people come to know you. They understand who you are. Be consistent with the information that you give people. Co-sponsor events with those in similar professions. So if you have somebody in loan or mortgage or whatever and they're doing I don't know, a trade show, they're doing an event there at the bank, see if you can help co-sponsor, see if you can be a part of that event, if you can get a little bit of buy-in that way. Host an education series. Do that online. Do that at your local library. This is what a lot of people don't realize is local libraries are always looking for different material to expose their community to. Go in and tell them that you want to give a free educational series over the next 4 to 5 weeks on debt elimination and wealth accumulation, and you could do it as simple as going in and showing them videos that have already been recorded, going in and showing them training lessons. Go in after you've done 1 or 2 and go in with a couple computers and say, I'm here to run free analysis for anybody that would like to see what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. Take advantage of every opportunity you have. Online or in person, booths at local events, home shows, chamber events, career fairs. All of these are places that you should be centering on if you're really diligently trying to find new prospects. Attend or have a booth at professional seminars when they're talking about, how do we accumulate wealth? How do we have a booth? Be there in person where people can see you. Loan officers, realtors, CPAs, financial planners, they all have professional seminars for all of these people. See if you could be a part of that seminar. Tax preparers. These are all people that could utilize this product with themselves as well as their client base. Insurance conferences, another great place because we know that we have a very lateral market when it comes to insurance, mortgage, financial planning, banking. All of these are lateral markets. Think about tax preparers for a moment. You go to your tax guy because you trust your tax guy, understands the law, and understands what's the best way to handle your taxes. And in effect, what's the best way to get the best return? CPAs and financial planners have a lot of clout with individuals. Tax preparers have a lot of clout with individuals. I know many of those. I know with my tax preparer or CPA, if he told me to do something that it would be to my advantage, I don't know that I would argue with him. I know in the past I have not. I typically take their advice. Well, let's keep going. Like I said, this is all recorded, so you can go back and review this if you're trying to write all this down. Print advertisements. It is so easy nowadays. There are so many templates online. Print advertisement, newspapers, magazines, postcards, mailers, real estate magazines. It really is not that expensive to put yourself in print. Find the local real estate magazine and get yourself a little article in the local real estate magazine. Go down to the local high school, get yourself a banner, go to the local newspaper. How much would it be for me to run an ad that's in the Sunday paper? All of these options and avenues are open to you. Internet presence, get a website. Right now, you can host a website for as little as $9.99 a month. And everything you need to build your website from scratch is online. Get yourself a presence. This is where things are moving us towards social media, towards internet. If you notice, all of our processes with Worth Unlimited are digital. There is no more paperwork at all. Everything is digital. Our videos, the ability to send the videos, to track the videos if they've watched them, if they've not watched them. I advise anyone and everyone, start working on a website, or if you know somebody that builds them, get yourself a website. Pay-per-click, AdWords, Facebook, these are all great places to advertise, and you can actually do pay-per-click advertising on Facebook, AdWords. LinkedIn is another really strong advertisement for business. The 3-foot rule. Let's think about this for a moment. Let's go away from where you go. Let's go about where you are currently. The 3-foot rule is everyone within 3 feet of you should know what you do for a living. And all we're saying there is start the conversations that matter. I've started conversations in grocery stores. I've started them in lines at Verizon. Have I had, huge success with that cold call where somebody's in a hurry to get out of there? No, but you know what I do is when they're checking me out, I'm talking to the person behind me that's waiting for me to check out. You never talk to the person in front of you because they're getting ready to check out and they're on the way and they'll just go see you by. If you talk to the person behind you in line, I know it's going to sound horrible, but you can hold them up as long as you want because they can't go anywhere until you swipe your debit card or you pay the bill to the cashier. Card magnets, window ads, branding, name tags, logoed shirts, restaurants, grocery stores, cell phone reps, door-to-door salespeople. Are you getting the picture? There are, some of the best people I ever found in this business were people that came out of the car industry that were in car sales. I want you to think about that for a moment. People in car sales are used to hearing no every single day of their lives. They work 12-hour days. They work 6 days a week to make that paycheck. And they're used to talking to strangers. It is just a part of what they do. You did a great job today. Are you interested in making some extra money? I'm looking for some new agents. Job ad, local paper, internet. These are all very viable market spaces. We talked a little bit about it last week. You have a waitress or a waiter that does an incredible job for you or just does a really good job. Tell them, have you ever thought of doing something else? I have an expanding sales organization. I'm looking for new people, and I think you might be a good fit. Would you be interested in taking a look at what I do? If you really want to get them, do that while their arms are loaded down with a heavy tray. Because they're sitting there holding that weight, and you're asking them, do you want to do something that takes a little bit less heavy lifting? I've got a sales organization. My people are making great money. I'm looking for new agents. I'm looking to expand my organization. I'm wondering if it's something that you would like to take a look at. Prospecting side notes. All right, so business card. It is important to get the prospect's more important to get the prospect's contact information than to give them your card. Why do we say that? Well, how many business cards have you taken from other people that just either end up in the trash can, they end up sitting in your basket where you keep your keys at the front door, or that stack of nonsense papers that you have somewhere, the advertisements and all that, and you see it every now and then and eventually it gets thrown away. You never contact the person based on the business card unless you have a specific need that relates to them. But if you get the contact information from the individual you're talking to, then you have free reign to make phone calls, send emails, do whatever it is that you need to do. Just understand it's more important to get their information than it is to give out a business card. Your phone is your biggest mechanical asset that you have in place. Use it more than any other tool. Your best asset in this business is the people you know, your database. And second to that would be your phone. Get familiar with your phone. Get familiar with making the phone calls and doing the things that need to be done. Follow up, follow up, follow up. The fortune is always in the follow-up. We talk about this every single week, how imperative your follow-up with a client is. Just because they said no now doesn't mean they said no forever. Just because you're at the early infant stages of the conversation, you can move that process forward by following up with them, saying, we left off here in the conversation. I was wondering if you'd like to visit for coffee, or you don't even bring it up and say, wondering if you'd like to visit for coffee. Go have some coffee. Let them talk for a little while and find out what's important to them. and then introduce what you're doing. All people you meet need to be added to your back to the basics list, to your database. Your database is your gold. Your database is the key to your success, but none of that happens unless you take action and unless you have the follow-up. So in follow-up, what do we really need? Well, we need a way to follow up. We need a way to track. We need a place to organize contact information, what you talked about, and what your next point of contact is going to be. Track where you are in the process, and then over and above that, use an activity worksheet. So what do I mean by an activity worksheet? Well, there's an example. I suggest you use Excel. I think everyone that's been successful in this would suggest you use Excel as well. And I want you to look at the top there. You know, you have date, prospect, phone number, email, referral source, agent, client, or both, invitation given, next follow-up, you know, date or what's the next process, date of opportunity meeting, if you're going to run meetings, did they join or did they not join, date of data collection with Worth, date of analysis appointment, and the data collection with Worth is an analysis appointment with Worth Unlimited with the corporate office. Date of analysis appointment is with you, and did they purchase? And so those are some pretty easy categories. Building an Excel spreadsheet is pretty simplistic. I do have the Excel spreadsheet here at the office that was provided me by Dr. Joan Hackenstad, and those of you that have Dr. Joan's information can feel free to reach out to her as well. But I would tell you to go in and just build yourself a worksheet. And maybe you want some other little points in there. I don't know. But if you notice all the way over here to the right, there's a big blank area right here. And what I would use this area for is I would put comments. And these would be where am I in my process. So I would write, I'd add one more line to this, which would be comments. And then for each one of the clients, I would have comments about where I am in the process or what I'm doing. So why is this so important? I mean, that looks pretty blank. That looks like, well, I could do that on paper. Well, here's why. This is what a filled out sheet looks like. You can use color coding. You can come up with your own color coding of revenue generating activity, phone call introduced, new agent prospect, follow-up calls, and you can color code all of this information, and what you're seeing here is kind of a ledger, point of value. You know, each one of these puts us in a position where now the mind responds to color coding and visual stimulation. What you see, you may forget it, but you can't ignore it. So coming up with this color coding, this idea, you know, what is, and if you notice what Dr. Joan has done is given a point evaluation to each thing. A phone call is 1 point. Revenue generating activity, point value is where she started, and then you see phone call introduced to the Worth agent or prospect. That's worth 1 point. Follow-up calls to the contact is worth 1 point. Email, batch sent to the database, to your entire database. You know that there's a meeting, there's a Monday night meeting, you're going to be doing a training, whatever. Don't be afraid to do training yourself. Don't be afraid to get a GoToMeeting account. Don't be afraid to have conference calls with your agents and do a scrum on how you're going to proceed and how you're going to move forward. Now, maybe you don't want to do a point value. Maybe what you want to do is you want to set it up in A, B, C, and D. Maybe you want to set it up that you're putting check marks in each one of these areas that, yes, I've done that, and they responded. Or maybe it's a Y or an N for yes or no. But I love the idea of point value, that you're looking for so many points per week, that you have a goal for the week of X number of points in X number of days. And if you do that, what you're going to find out is that becomes a motivator. Man, I needed 150 points by the end of this week, and this is right up here at the top. You can see this right here. I needed 150 points by the end of the week. Geez, I'm only at 100 right now, and it's, you know, Thursday. I better get a move on. I need 50 more points. And following Sales Track, following a ledger like this, and holding yourself accountable. And here I want to tell you one other thing. Allow your leaders to hold you accountable. The person that recruited you in, allow them to hold you accountable. You should be having at least a 10 to 15-minute conversation with your leader once a week to say, this is the activity I did. This is what I've done. And all too many leaders never follow up with their agents. They bring them in and just expect them to work and expect for the agent just to get in touch if they have a problem. But that's not building the team. Building the team is touching base with your team members and giving them a call and saying, hey, you joined up last week and, we had a great conversation. I just want to know how this week went for you. How many people did you get in touch with? How many people did you do? Set it up so you're having these conversations on a weekly basis. So with that having been said, I'm going to go to Darlene. And Darlene, any comments so far on where we are right now, the list, what we're doing? While you're talking, I'm going to read a couple comments that have come in, but we are getting a little close on time, so keep this one a little bit short, and I'm going to go to Dr. Joan.
Okay. So there's a lot of information that Mac has gone over, and you may feel whether you're a refreshing agent, an active agent, a new agent, whatever it is that you may feel this is a lot of stuff at one time. Step by step is the way it works. What's the basics that we talked about? Get your database in there, or get your prospect list. In the back office, there's prospects. Get them in there, and you know what, guys? That'll get you sparked every single time. You pick up that phone and you call someone. You pick up the phone, you call someone. It's not a time for chat, chit-chat stuff. You have a point. I want to share information with you. Who do you know that may want to get out of debt? Bottom line, you need to contact people. You'll see the information, use it, fit it into your plan, make it work for you. Each agent is different in the way they do it. The information that we're providing, that Mac has gone over so graciously here, is the fact that this is a system you can follow to help you not let anyone fall between the cracks. But the bottom line is, look at the information, see what works for you, and then do something. Be persistent. Have a goal and stay focused. But at all costs, pick up that phone every day. If this is full-time for you, there's no reason not to pick up the phone every single day and call maybe 10 or 15 people. You write your goal. And then talk to the sponsor that brought you in. If that person's not active, go to the person that brought them in. You can find who your sponsor is right in your prospect area where it says assign. And it'll give you everyone that is in your success line above you. But whatever
Awesome.
you decide to do, guys, do something. No secret agents.
Fantastic. Thank you, Darlene. Always a pleasure. I just want to go back and make a little correction here real quick. I want to go back one slide. This is your individual, your prospect, your tracking. This is your database. This is your prospect action plan. I want you to understand that. This is your database that you're filling out here. And this sheet is your activity worksheet of your goals for the week. That's why everything is set up on the side. So you actually have two different sheets that you would be utilizing, one to track all of your prospects and where you are on the process individually with each one of them. And then this secondary sheet is one of activity that you hold yourself accountable to through the course of a week. With that having been said, I want to bring Dr. Joan on real quick. Dr. Joan, I know that you are very big about both of these, your name list and managing that database as well as your activity. Speak to us a little bit about how you see that improves your business or puts you in a better position, or in fact, anything that you would like to say at this point, because I know this is something that's very dear to you in the fact of how you go about your business.
Absolutely. And I just got the notice that my battery is about to go dead on my earpiece. I just took it out. So it is critical. You've said already that follow-up is absolutely imperative, and quite frankly, it's about your reputation. What kind of reputation do you want to leave? If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it, and do it when you say and how you say you're going to do it. So to me, that is absolutely imperative. May I ask, Mac, can you go back one slide like you did?
Yes, no worries at all. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. So on this Excel spreadsheet, what you have, if you see on the bottom there, it says client agent prospects on the bottom tab, then it says the point system. weekly conversion rate, January, February, March, April. This is actually set up not only for you to track your prospects, as Mac says, and also the point system, as Mac had said, but it's also going to show you how to do your conversion rates. I see so many times that people say, gosh, I'm talking to so many people, I'm just not getting the sales. Well, let's look at what you're actually doing. There's no way that you can fib about this because we're tracking numbers. So you can see literally how many people that you've talked to. Of those people, how many appointments did you schedule? Of those appointments scheduled, how many actually maintained that analysis appointment? Of those, how many closed? Those may sound like really in-depth things to look at. And if you're new, that sounds like, oh my goodness gracious, that's over the top of my head. It's really not. Because usually when you look at the number of people you talk to, the number of appointments you set, how many people maintain the appointment, how many people you close, minor tweaks in what you're currently doing make all of the difference. And you'll usually find that a lot of people I see think that they're really good in one area, but they're actually exceptional in other areas, and they truly need to work in different areas. So this is going to truly show you what areas you need to work in and what areas you're doing well with. The other thing I wanted to mention, that earlier we were talking about all of these different prospecting activities. Obviously, don't go out there and start doing all of those activities. My goodness gracious, Mac just showed you 3-4 slides full of different activities. Choose 2 to 5 different activities and then do those activities consistently. All of the people that you meet with then go onto your worksheet, and then you can track your activity. How often are you following up with them? Give yourself a point, so on and so forth. Now, you don't have to use this worksheet, although Mac has it. You're certainly welcome to use it. There's other things that you can use. You can use contact management systems. They're actually CRMs, or customer relationship management. Zoho, Infusionsoft, HubSpot, Salesforce, Act, Insightly, Pipedrive, Sugar CRM. There's so many different contact management systems out there that you can use. A lot of them are free. Some of them cost money, and they take a little bit of time to learn. Whatever you do need to make sure you're tracking the people so that nobody falls through the crack. And whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, whether it's a true CRM, it does not matter. You need to make sure that you are tracking everybody so that nobody follows through the crack. And then make sure you follow up. That fortune truly is in the follow-up. And I hate to tell you some numbers here, but it takes 12 plus contacts, 12 plus follow-ups with somebody to get 95% of the closes. Most people stop after 1 to 2 voicemail messages. That's unfortunately not enough. You need to continue to follow up. A lot of people get busy, they get sidetracked, they have great intentions, they lack follow-through. Don't let that be you, and don't let that control your business. So take control and make sure you follow up. And last, I'm going to leave it with this. Network on purpose and network everywhere. That's how you'll be successful with Worth Unlimited.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joan. And ladies and gentlemen, I think you all understand why it is that I have Darlene and Joan on these calls every week. Great balance, great information, and as always, thank you, Dr. Joan. Thank you, Darlene.
My pleasure.
All righty. Let's just move through to the end of this. I've had some people ask, could these be downloaded, these sheets? I am working on a process to try to get them on the agent back office, but I can only do them in a Word format. I can't have a Word and Apple format and all that. So if I do put it to the back office, it would be in a Word document form, in an Excel spreadsheet format for Microsoft Word. So if you had an Apple, you would need probably the Excel conversion for your Apple to be able to download that, but I'm trying to figure that out and work that out. In the interim, at the end of these, I always put up my email address. I would say that support could send it to you, but my technicians in support are working with a very small frame computer that does not have Excel on it. So they would not have a way of sending it directly from support upon request. So we are working on getting this on the agent portal, but in the interim, if you would like a copy of both of these sheets or either one of these sheets, feel free to send me an email directly. And that was answering a question for Nina there. And so yeah, if you ask me for it, send me an email request. Chances are I'm going to put it on Google Drive and give you access to to that Google Drive, to that one particular file, to be able to pull both of those from Google Drive. But it would take you sending me an email first. Okay? All right, so let's move on. I know we're running a little long in the tooth, but I wanted to make sure you all had this information. Let the videos do the talking for you. Direct them to the Worth Account Client Replicated site. Have them watch the introductory videos there. We now have some new videos as well, not just the ALOC presentation or the ALOC demo, but you've got your little 9-minute video. You've got, we have a bevy of material that you can get to your client. Let that do the initial talking about the product until you're really proficient. Even as long as I've been doing this, I don't try to explain this product to people. I have them watch a video, or I give them a brief explanation and move them to an analysis. I let the analysis and the videos do the talking. I let the results of the analysis do the talking. Fortune is in the follow-up. Follow up directly after they have watched the videos. Set an appointment to get their numbers. You always want to remember these steps. Step number 1 is imperative to sum it up in the sales process. Share worth with others, create curiosity, engage interest. Starting point, with whom do I start? Your 15-second commercial, use of qualifiers and tie downs, your personal and borrowed story, the litmus test, and set the appointment in stone. These are your first 6 lessons that I want you really concentrating on. All of these lessons have been recorded. They are on the Worth Corporate Training channel. If you go to YouTube, look up Worth Unlimited Corporate Training Channel. And you'll see a block there, and in that block, if you click on it, that is recorded webinars. And the first 6 lessons of Sales Track, I believe, are already up there from about a year ago. We'll be replacing those with these newer ones that we're doing now that we're going through the series again. Just so they're dated and they're timely. The other piece of the sum up is, with whom do I start? Best to start with people you know, doing the back to basics list. With everyone you start, your list is imperative for your business. As you build your business, you'll want to venture out to more prospecting activities. Don't let anyone fall through the cracks. Use the activity worksheets. Follow up, follow up, follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. And remember your worth goals and take action today. The very last, don't be a secret business owner and don't be a secret agent. I want to thank all of you for joining us for the Worth Unlimited Agent Update and Sales Track Training starting point for July 23rd, 2018. Let's get out there and do it big. Let's get out there and do it right. But at the very least, let's get out there and do it right now. This is Max Saunders saying bye-bye for now.